Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Gizmo once in. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be talking more about Teen Mom because in the last 24 hours there has been yet another update from Catelynn and how she is trying to backtrack and rewrite recent history. So let's get into it. For the last almost year or so, Catelynn and Tyler have done a lot of talking. And with them talking, they have said some things that I think are just super insulting to Carly and to Brandon and Teresa. Like when they have said recently that they would choose a different couple. If they could do it all over again, they would have chosen a different couple. And they have said that they would choose somebody that was like actually in Michigan. However, and I've mentioned this before because I read their whole book on my TikTok account. If you go to my TikTok account and you go to my playlist, Catelynn and Tyler, the whole book it's not causing chaos, it's conquering chaos. Sorry, there was a joke between me and like commenters in there, and some people were like, they shouldn't have chose the book title Conquering Chaos. It should have been Causing Chaos, and now I can't get that out of my head. But anyways, so in their book, they said that like they at first didn't want anybody in Michigan because they didn't want to maybe run into her at the grocery store. It would be too painful for them. So that was why they chose somebody out of state. Again, I know this was back when they were 16, 17 years old and all of that. And I get that times can change, okay? But in their book that they wrote like 8 years ago, no, it's been almost 10. Oh my gosh, it's almost been 10 years ago. They said that they didn't want somebody that was in the same state as them. Fast forward to present day, and especially since the summertime where they got cut off from communication, all Teresa wanted was a break. Just one summer break from Catelynn and Tyler. And Catelynn and Tyler could not accept that. And that's clear because Catelynn was blowing Teresa up all summer with text messages, one-sided text messages of showing off what Catelynn, Tyler, and their girls are up to. Nothing about Carly was in those messages. And Catelynn has now come back, like when she got called out for that, she was like, well, I just didn't share all the messages. Then why did you share them in the first place if that was supposed to be evidence? But the only thing evident was that you wanted to show off your life, but not ask anything about Carly in her life. Considering she's in high school, she could have had activities throughout the summer, especially if she does like any sports, if she does like marching band, or she could have been, doing a lifeguard job over the summer or something. Like there are so many things that she could be up to, but yet Catelynn didn't ask about any of them. But she sure was like, here's a picture of Tyler and the girls, like. And then to send her a blanket that says sisters on it, like a photo blanket. Girl, you are crossing the line. It's you. But after she got cut off of communication, the adoption has now been like sealed, closed, done. It's no longer a semi-open adoption, even though their agreement was only for the first 5 years. A lot of people keep forgetting that the adoption agreement that Catelynn and Tyler signed was for the first 5 years of communication. And mind you, they did not ask for any visitations at that point. At all. They just wanted photos. They requested photos throughout Carly, like going to school, like graduating and all of that. That was all that Catelynn and Tyler had wanted. Since then, they have felt like they have some sort of entitlement to Carly, especially after having more children. It's like after they had more children, they even more hyper-focused on Carly. So much so that people forget that they have other children. Or they forget the amount of children that they have. That's how much they fixate on Carly. And so they get cut off. And next thing you know, Catelynn is like giving press releases or having interviews, whatever you want to call it. And is like, yeah, I would have picked out different adoption parents. Not, I regret my decision to place a child for adoption, or I shouldn't have let my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, talk me into placing this child for adoption. No. Now it's, I would have chosen different parents. So the loving, stable people that you did choose are no longer good enough? Because why? Because y'all ain't getting what you want out of them and they're not letting you steamroll all over them with your entitlement? So anyways, now Catelynn is trying to backtrack on those claims and is trying to rewrite history and act like she didn't mean what she said. I have an Ashley article pulled up, and it's saying that Catelynn Lowell tries to backtrack on her recent comments about Carly's parents. All right, so let's get into it. Catelynn and Tyler took to social media this week for a bit of damage control following their latest comments about adoption and their biological daughter Carly's parents, Brandon and Teresa Davis. In one interview done last week to promote the new season of Next Chapter, Catelynn stated that she would have picked different parents for Carly if she had to do it over again. That is so insulting, especially because as a child, I know I wasn't put up for adoption or placed in an adoption family, an adoptive family, but what you would call him, my stepdad adopted me. But I had so much trauma and baggage from my biological dad basically abandoning me, made me feel very unwanted. Like there was something wrong with me that he didn't want something to do with me. And I can't imagine if I was placed for adoption and already having those feelings of like not being wanted by my biological family, but then for them to come out publicly and say they would have picked different parents for me. The ones that have been there for my whole life, have taken care of me, have nurtured me. And again, we've not had any issues with Brandon and Teresa having CPS called on them. No child abuse claims or charges or any of that. Like, I could understand if she was in a dangerous home. If they realized, like, wow, we picked awful people that are just straight dangerous. But no. They are trying to paint Brandon and Teresa into bad people because Brandon and Teresa have set boundaries. Like, how would you feel if you went through an adoption, you've adopted your child, the birth parents have terminated their rights, but since they're on a TV show and they have an unhinged fan base that could you imagine being harassed by that fan base while you're just trying to raise a child? Because that's what Catelynn and Tyler's fans have done. And they've never spoken up to tell them to stop. But yet, there's people that will contact Brandon and Teresa and tell them that they're going to kidnap Carly and take them back to Catelynn and Tyler. Unhinged. Calling Brandon's place of work saying that they need to give Carly back to Catelynn and Tyler because what they did was wrong. Pure harassment. I couldn't imagine just not being able to live in peace, knowing I've done nothing wrong. I'm just raising a child that the parents did not want to have the responsibility of raising. And I'm doing the right things as a parent, but yeah, I'm going to get harassed? No. I would have been establishing a lot more boundaries even then. And it's only gotten worse over the years because Catelynn and Tyler know how to pull on heartstrings to their fan base. They know how to rile them up to where their fans will go and attack Brandon and Teresa. And it feels like nobody's thinking about the child involved. Actually, children, because Carly has a younger brother. And I'm sure that he is being affected by it as well. But yet, these two just keep on going and keep on going. It's like a circus show. It's literally Catelynn and Tyler's circus show, in my opinion. Anyways, let me get back to the article. As fans know, Catelynn and Tyler have been speaking out against Carly's parents, Brandon and Teresa, since last year, resulting in the couple blocking the Teen Mom stars on social media and ultimately ceasing all contact between them and Carly. To be fair, I probably would have done that once they decided to bring a whole bunch of family members to our once a year visit, because that's what Catelynn and Tyler did. They brought, April and Kim and a whole bunch of them to their yearly meetup with Carly. It's supposed to just be them. Anyways, the entitlement is just astounding. And yet people still will defend Catelynn and Tyler and act like Brandon and Teresa are wrong for protecting their family. Anyhow, Catelynn and Tyler have also been frequently speaking out against adoption itself. They sure have. And it's really sickening how many people coddle them. Like the adoptee advocate, Erin, I already got into it with her on Facebook. She don't like me and I don't like her. She thinks I'm ignorant and I think that she is ignorant. But people like her will defend Catelynn and Tyler and take up for them. And so Catelynn and Tyler love those type of people. Those people that are adoptees, they will cling on to them because those adoptees like want to be with their birth family, and Catelynn and Tyler have it in their mind that Carly's going to come run into them, even though their lifestyle is so different. And coming from a person that decided at 19 to go all the way to Las Vegas to meet her biological father, to spite her mother, I can say that I couldn't hang. I couldn't hang with my birth father or his family because they were a whole other level of crazy that I was not yet prepared for. Like, I've been exposed to some stuff in my life, but that was a whole other level. Like, I couldn't even imagine growing up in that type of shit. And what's crazy is that would have been normal for me. But since I didn't grow up in it, it wasn't normal, and I felt very uncomfortable. And I could see that happening to Carly. Even if she had the curiosity to want to live with Catelynn and Tyler, see what that was like, I don't think it would last long because the lifestyle is completely different than what she grew up in. And I've been told that I shouldn't take my life situation and project it onto Carly. But when I've spoken to many other adoptees, it's not just me that have said that they are very uncomfortable with their biological family, especially if the biological family feels entitled to the child. It's a very uncomfortable situation. And I feel like Catelynn and Tyler, no matter how many times somebody like me tries to tell them that, that's not what they want to hear, so they're not receiving it or accepting it. And that's why I also think that if she doesn't want to come around when she's an adult to them, they will turn on her and they will say that her parents brainwashed her, or, you know, had religious brainwash. It'll be something. It'll be something. Because with how much they talk, it's not going to be nothing. But anyways, back to the article, Tiffany. So they've also been speaking out against adoption itself, claiming they believe they were taken advantage of as teens when they decided to place their child for adoption in 2009. I don't agree with that because of how adamant Tyler was on adoption. There was nothing else that you could convince him. You could have shown him all the resources that there are for young parents, or, you know, with Catelynn, she would have been considered a single mother had she kept Carly. So you could have given them resources, which I've been asked, like, well, what are the resources? And what I say is check in your own damn community. There's plenty of resources out there that will help you and that would have helped them. But Tyler could not have been told otherwise. He was like, no, she's getting placed for adoption. Catelynn was unsure the whole time. And Dawn doing her job. And honestly, they should be grateful for their experience through the Bethany Christian services, because I have heard from other birth parents that were not on a TV show, other birth mothers, and I've heard their experience. Yeah, Catelynn, count your damn blessings, okay? Because thankfully, you had a TV show with you, and you didn't get treated as terribly as some of the other birth mothers that went through the same agency. But I feel like you can't even put that in perspective for her or for Tyler either. But at the end of the day, they were not taken advantage of because Tyler did not want to keep the child. As sad as that is to even say, because Carly don't deserve that. Carly deserves to be loved, to be wanted, to be nurtured. And that's exactly what Brandon and Teresa are doing for her. So if anything, I think Tyler just has a heart up for Brandon and Teresa being able to do that when he wasn't able to. And I also feel like him and Catelynn secretly, like, wanted to be adopted along with Carly, which, I mean, I don't blame them considering their own home situation and how they were brought up. But I also feel that they should be so grateful that they were given the opportunity to choose two parents like Brandon and Teresa for their child, since they were not ready to take on the responsibility as teenagers to be parents. Moving on, though. Catelynn continued this trend in a recent interview with E! News, even admitting that she had regrets about choosing Brandon and Teresa to be Carly's parents, a statement she insisted this week had been misinterpreted. Is she kidding me? So let's see how she's going to try to spin this one. I want to make something very clear. In the interviews I did recently and said I would pick different parents, I mean I would have picked us. Liar. Liar, because you didn't say that. You did not say, I regret the decision I made with Tyler, and I wish that it was me raising her. That's not what you said, though, honey. You said you would have chosen different parents in Michigan, because then you think that you would have gotten your way with, like, co-parenting Carly, when in reality, that probably wouldn't have been the case. Going on. I wish that I could have made a different choice and we could be her parents. Not that I would have picked a different set of adoptive parents. I should have clarified in the interviews I did. No, you're only trying to backtrack now because everybody's holding you accountable for what you've said and how that could be harmful to Carly. But you said it. Going on though. Unfortunately for Catelynn, her latest explanation made no sense, given that in the interview, she stated she would still choose adoption for Carly. Even if she had the lifestyle she has today. That's what she said. She said it. There's no misinterpretation in that. If she had to do it over again. She also gave specific reasons why she would not choose Brandon and Teresa again. Never once in the interview did Catelynn state that she would choose herself and Tyler to parent Carly if she could. Not once. And neither is Tyler and his little lives pretending to be a victim. And the fact that he has gone on there and talked about how the child should be with the birth mother. It's the best for the child and the child's development is to have a bond with the birth mother. But yet you're the one that forced the birth mother to place the child for adoption, Tyler. I also don't like how they come for Teresa for infertility struggles. That really, really pisses me off. My grandma, my dad that adopted me, his mom was unable to have children naturally. She adopted my aunt and then my dad. And they went through like the welfare system, I want to say back then. This was like in the 60s. My grandma is unable to have children. And the fact that Catelynn has publicly bashed Teresa for not being able to have her own children and like Catelynn putting herself on some pedestal because she can really pisses me off. It's disgusting. It's honestly disgusting. And then other adoptees out here that are like, when you adopt a child, that is human trafficking. You shouldn't buy a child to band-aid your infertility issues. Y'all know that there's like birth parents out here that should not be parents, right? Y'all know that there's birth parents out here that like lock their kid in closets, don't feed them, beat them, neglect them, don't let them bathe. Y'all know that, right? Statistically speaking, a child will more likely be mistreated in the home of a biological parent than an adoptive parent or foster care. That's where I feel like Catelynn and Tyler should focus their efforts on is the foster care system. I made a whole 10-minute video on TikTok about it, and I had a lot of people agree with me, so I know I'm on the right track. They are so focused on adoptions and how bad adoptions are and all that because they're having their heads brainwashed by these adoptees who clearly need some therapy and some counseling for themselves. But anyways, they are taking their word of wanting to be with their birth parents and hating their adoptive parents so much that Catelynn and Tyler can't see that maybe Carly won't be like that. They have it in their head, along with their little fans, that Carly is going to come running to them the moment she turns 18. And I'm sorry, I just don't agree with that. I don't see that happening, especially since the word on the curb from some sources, okay, that no, Brandon and Teresa and Carly have said that Carly sees what's on the internet and she's uncomfortable with what Catelynn and Tyler are putting online. Not just with what they're saying, but also the fact that they have a fans only. That's uncomfortable. And I can see why, because Tyler has Carly's name tattooed across his stomach with like her handprint. And then he has these videos or, these different spicy picture, content, whatever, that's getting plastered all over the internet. And I would be mortified as a teenage girl. I would be mortified that my birth parents have this big of a platform that like anybody could see this stuff and come and tell me about it. Uncomfortable. But moving on with this Ashley article. So she said, I definitely would have picked a couple in Michigan. Catelynn said in the interview, I would have picked a couple that wanted fully open adoption from the get-go. So there's things in my decision that I would have changed. Okay. Moving on, though, with the article. As expected, Tyler also took to social media amid the latest wave of criticism. Of course he did. Insisting that he and Kate aren't bashing Carly's parents. You are. Y'all keep trying to convince us that you're not, but we're trying to tell you that you very much are bashing her parents. Very, very much. And I was very protective of my parents. Like with my adopted dad, I hated when my biological dad would say stuff about him and make little slick comments about him because, again, who are you to criticize a man who has raised me when you couldn't be bothered to do so? And I'm not saying that for Carly. I'm saying that for me, myself, and I. I'm very protective of my family, and you're not going to talk shit about them. I don't care who you are. If anybody's going to talk shit, it's going to be me. So, I'm sorry to say it, Tyler, but you are bashing her parents. Let them live in peace. That's something they haven't gotten to have ever since adopting Carly because of how y'all have allowed your fan base to act. I don't have a big platform like them, but if I did, I would be addressing people and telling them, you should not be harassing Brandon and Teresa. That's what I would say if I was Catelynn and Tyler. But apparently, they're more into getting coddled and getting attention than actually standing up for what's right. Moving on. Insisting that he and Kate aren't bashing Carly's parents by sharing the issues they have with their adoption. Keep it to yourself. He stated that he and Kate are simply expressing factual truth. So here's what he said. Dear everyone who equates us sharing our adoption story as a bashing Carly's parents. The way y'all go about it, it is. If a person expresses factual truth, and that truth is perceived as bashing, cruel, slander, negative, etc. Him and his word salad therapy speak shit, I'm so over it. Like, Tyler thinks that he knows better than anybody and everybody, and even if you try to correct him, you're still wrong. And that all goes back into him having undiagnosed ODD, oppositional defiance disorder. I really think he has that. I'm convinced. Anyways, though, then if a person expresses factual truth and that truth is perceived as bashing, cruel, slander, negative, etc., then is the person who delivers that truth wrong or cruel? Or are the facts of that truth wrong and cruel? If people are so uncomfortable with the facts regarding that truth, then they should reevaluate the morality of that truth. Just a lot of word jargon, just da-da-da-da, like, instead of condemning and pointing fingers at the ones who just so happen to be delivering the truth, if you possess critical thinking skills, this should make sense to you. I do possess critical thinking skills, and I'm still of the thought that you are bashing her parents publicly. Keep the shit to yourself. And if you don't like that you chose adoption, why don't you just say that? I wanted to keep her. Instead of trying to blame everybody else for why you made that decision, just take ownership that you made that decision and now you regret it. But moving on, just days before Catelynn and Tyler posted their respective statements about Carly and the adoption, Tyler unleashed an unfiltered stream of consciousness on TikTok Live, during which he accused Brandon and Teresa of not advocating for Carly when it comes to the situation with himself and Catelynn. I wish I could live in this level of delusion, because I bet that he is so peaceful with like ignorance is bliss is what I've heard. It must be nice. Not advocating for Carly when it comes to the situation with himself and Catelynn, he stated that Brandon and Teresa should have offered an explanation as to why they were ending communication with him and Kate. You don't deserve an explanation. That's just what it is. They can make that choice and they don't have to explain themselves to you. And not only that, I'm pretty sure that it's evident why they did so. If you have critical thinking, Tyler, then I'm sure you could put two and two together that harassing them with multiple text messages when they've asked for a break, sending a blanket with sisters all over it for Carly, Nova, Veda, Raya, I still don't know how to say her name. Inappropriate. Sending gifts after you have been asked to back off. Inappropriate. It's y'all. It's y'all. But he has critical thinking skills. Tyler claimed that Brandon and Teresa have the answer as to why they do not wish to be in contact with him or Kate, and that they've allegedly confirmed to Dawn, the adoption counselor, that there is a reason. However, they will refuse to communicate that information to Kate and Tyler, and I understand why. They are so unhinged. What are they going to say when they do get that? What are they going to turn it into? Instead of taking accountability for their own behavior of overstepping boundaries and also with having a fans only, y'all chose two people that are religious and have deep faith. And I feel that you creating that kind of content and posting it, blasting it all over the internet is not helpful. And considering sources close to Brandon and Teresa have confirmed that Carly is uncomfortable by it, I really feel that Brandon and Teresa will not throw her under the bus with that, because Catelynn and Tyler will come on their platforms, podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, whatever outlet they can go to, they will bash her. And I'm sure Brandon and Teresa see that they will do that, because nothing seems off limits to these two. And that's also what bothers me. You know, you can educate others about adoption. You can tell people how you felt about it, but the way that they go about it is so wrong. Anyhow, so they said they just won't give it to us. They refused Dawn to let us know that answer. Tyler said, adding that he finds it really weird that Brandon and Teresa won't allow that information to be shared with him and Kate. What's really weird is how much you guys are prodding and poking at them to tell you. It's like, do you want your feelings to be hurt? Do y'all want to be told that you make Carly uncomfortable? She don't want to be around you or communicate with you because of the way that y'all behave? Is that really what you want to hear? Because I don't think so. And even if you were told that, I don't think you'd receive it, because you have it in your head that they've brainwashed Carly or they've turned Carly against them, because they have it in their head that Brandon and Teresa are so insecure and jealous of Catelynn and Tyler and what bond they could have over Carly. Again, the delusion is strong. Tyler reiterated that Brandon and Teresa made an open adoption agreement with 2 minor children, before pointing out that he and Kate are almost at the age that Brandon and Teresa were when the adoption agreement took place. And yet they've grown none. Not at all. Also, they have not done any of the things that they claimed that they were going to do, because they did choose adoption. They are 2 big lazies that have not done jack shit. Let's just call it what it is. They sit around and bitch and moan about Carly and use her name to profit off of. That would bother me if I was Brandon and Teresa. Hell, that would bother me if I was Carly. Like, so y'all placed me for adoption, all to go publicly and like bash the people that you chose to adopt me, and then you just like keep using my name for some clout, for some attention, for some money. Like, no, I'm not cool with all that. And also, they did make an open adoption agreement for 5 years. It's like Catelynn and Tyler want everybody to forget that there was an agreement. They had went over it with Dawn. They went over it with the legal team that was helping them out. They went over it when they went into court. 30 days after the birth. But now they want to gain sympathy from people, and they want to make everybody believe that they were taken advantage of. And there's a lot of people that will blindly follow that. But me, I'm going to do my own research. And I have done my own research into Catelynn and Tyler. And at this point, I feel like they should just be grateful that they chose two really great parents for Carly. They should show some gratitude rather than acting like some bitter Bettys all the time. I think to myself, man, if I was in their position and watched the devastation on these two kids and what's going on, I wouldn't have done it, Tyler said. Or I would have at least gotten down on their level and said, listen, you don't have to do this. You can change your mind. Anything. Tyler, you would not let Catelynn change her mind. After she pushed that baby out, you were sitting there in her face, telling her how she could do it, how she's strong, Shut up! Back up. That bothered me. That really bothered me. But now he wants to act like that wasn't the case. You're the reason that she placed that child for adoption. And I know that Catelynn is having a hard time with that, knowing that she allowed Tyler to push her into that choice. And then Tyler also has guilt because he pushed her into that choice. Their relationship is not a solid, stable relationship. It is toxic. It's very codependent. They are bonded through their trauma. And Tyler has expressed many times wanting to get out of that relationship. But then Catelynn will manipulate him and weaponize her mental health. And then he stays with her even though he really doesn't want to. I mean, the stuff that he has said about her on camera. I would not be okay with my husband talking about me like that. Whether it was behind my back, to my face, or to a camera. And you can see it on Catelynn how depressed she really is. It really is a sad situation. And I might talk a lot about them. But at the end of the day, I look at it and I am sad for them. I'm sad that Catelynn would have chose her boyfriend over being a mother to Carly. I'm sad that Tyler won't take some ownership in how he pushed and coerced Catelynn into the adoption. And for them to not even admit that they regret the adoption and wish that they had Carly. But they have gone out to say that they would still choose adoption even if they had the lifestyle that they have now. They just would have chose different parents. And Catelynn can try to backtrack and say, no, I really would have wished it was us. That's not what you said, girlfriend. That is not what you said. The only thing they can do at this point is find peace in the decision that they made, to heal themselves and to move forward in a better way for their other children, because their other children are suffering. And they are suffering because their parents are so fixated on a child that they place for adoption that they're not even giving their 100% to the kids that they do have. But if they want to try to rewrite history and backtrack, they can. But those of us that have paid attention, you're not going to be able to fool us. And you're not going to be able to evade our holding you accountable. You're not going to be able to evade that. Because people are always going to bring that back up. You can have all the fans in the world, but there's still going to be a few people that will see right through your bullshit and call it out. So no matter what you want to say, no matter how many times you want to rewrite history, there are people that have been clocking it with you each time you've said something. I'm one of those people. Because I think that what they are doing to Carly is awful. They claim that they're thinking of her and they want her to see how much they love her and everything. But there's other ways that they can go about it. They don't have to be so public with it. And it's really just watching two toddlers have a temper tantrum. They're not getting what they want. So they're going to act out and hope that they get whatever they want. And in their case, I don't think they're going to. I think that Brandon and Teresa are going to become more protective of Carly. And I also feel that it is from Carly's comfort level of them doing that. They're doing what a parent is supposed to do by protecting the child And all that Catelynn and Tyler are doing are just bringing on more issues for this 15-year-old girl. So, in my opinion, they need to just pump the brakes and zip it and find other topics of discussion, because all they're doing is digging that hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And if they want a relationship with Carly in the future, the more they keep doing this, the less likely it is going to happen for them. But that is all of my thoughts on Catelynn and Tyler and what they have recently been saying. I'm sure I'll be back with another one soon, because we know that they're not going to stop talking.